If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer.
Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
For all new and current subscribers, welcome back to Resilient Love.
Resilient is being able to overcome difficult situations. This podcast is about love, tips on life,
and how to level up in your business. Let's get started on the journey.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming back to another episode of Resilient Love. So what are we talking about today, Q?
Today is going to be a very interesting day. We'll be talking with Mr. Colin C. Thompson of China.
He lives in China.
Lives in China.
But he is an entrepreneur, a business owner, a father, and a husband. And he has overcome hardships through constant personal development, and it led him to overcome and excel and create his own life coaching business. So we're going to be talking to him about that, as well as the current state of racial harmony in China and the United States. So this is going to be a great topic. But before we get into all of our topic and our juicy details, we want Mr. Thompson to give us his background. So tell us about yourself, sir.
All right, Mr. Thompson, I like that. Brianna, Quinn, I gotta say, man, this is going to be a great session. This is my first podcast being interviewed by a couple, and I think now with the state of things taking place in the U.S., I'm very happy to be talking to a Black couple because we're going to get some juice, and we're going to talk about a lot of topics today. So, as you mentioned, my name is Colin Thompson. I am of my parents. I can't say I'm of China. I am in China. I am a Canadian Jamaican. My family's Jamaican. I was born in Toronto, Canada. I call myself a lifelong immigrant. Reason being, my parents immigrated from Jamaica to Canada. I came out in Canada. We continued our immigration lifestyle. We immigrated from Canada to the U.S. I spent the vast majority of my life in the U.S. in Louisville, Kentucky, Toronto to Louisville, which was quite a wake-up call. And then, thank goodness, I went from Louisville to D.C., dark country, and had a tremendous experience in D.C. And then I went from D.C. to a couple years in upstate New York, and then finally here to China in 2008. So I've been here in China for approximately 12 years. And it has been such a breath of fresh air, especially due to the situation that we have in the U.S.
Right.
We know is not 3 weeks old, right? We know this has been something for a long time. So I look forward to sharing with you guys just the contrast, emotions, and feelings for living in different countries and how different countries treat Black people and how Black people interact in those different regions as well.
Yes.
So I'll jump right in. Our next question is, what led your big move to China, and what challenges did you face adapting to that culture?
Well, that's a great question, and I have to go back a little bit. As China's my last move, but I got to explain the first move. When I was 8 years old, almost 8 years old, 1980, we moved from Toronto to Louisville, Kentucky. My parents were Jamaican. Now, if you guys recall 1980 or the mid-'80s in North Carolina, maybe there weren't many Jamaicans back then. Same thing in Louisville. So we get into Louisville, my parents talking Jamaican, me talking Canadian. They say, these guys are strange. Right? They haven't seen that. So, in Canada, it was very culturally diverse. My neighbors were all shades, all beautiful shades from white to black and everything in between. I never knew I was black. I knew I was black, but I never felt I was black.
Mm.
Literally, the very first day we moved to the United States, my father sat us down. I have 2 older brothers and 3 older sisters. He sat us all down and gave us that speech. I'm quite sure you give your kids. These neighborhoods don't go to. If you ever talk to policemen, here's how you carry yourself. Just giving us the whole thing, but
Right.
also not being able to communicate freely with our white neighbors.
Mm.
Just not friendly. Just not friendly. But friendly with each other, which is kind of odd. So that's when I first felt that there's something different in this country, and that's when I first felt like, okay, people of different colors don't really interact with each other as they did back in Canada.
Right. Okay. Wow.
Right. So I felt that from a very young age, and being black but not being African American was also very different, because I think being African American, each generation is coming from that slavery mentality to a certain extent, where you're told not to do, and you already know how to play the game, so to speak, how to deal with hidden racism, how to deal with overt racism. Coming from out the country, we didn't know that.
Right.
So
Exactly.
you make some mistakes, and you question certain things. But my father always told us, we're citizens of the world. Make sure you learn more about the world and different cultures. So I already had two different views of cultural integration. But I in Louisville is a very, it's not South,
Mhm.
but it's right there at that border. It's right there at that.
Right. Exactly. Right.
So luckily, I left and went to Howard University in Washington D.C. for college. And Howard is HBCU, Historically
Yes.
Black College University. And one of the first things I learned was, wow, Black people can be class president, class secretary, treasurer, everything. Because in high school, we had one Black guy who could do it, right? Then one Black guy to do it, and that's it. But at Howard, every position was Black. Like,
Exactly.
I really did not know it could happen. So wow, this is wonderful. So long story short, at Howard, 2 things: you learn knowledge of self, and you learn how to have responsibility and put yourself in positions of influence. So my mother calls it, getting racist at Howard. And we said, no, we're not getting racist. We just now see the truth. So going back to Louisville was more difficult, because you go back down there and you're not jiving with what you're seeing. You're like, no, I know better now. So
Exactly.
yeah, so luckily I did okay in school and studied and graduated, and went to work for a consulting company, Ernst & Young, for a number of years. Very, very good opportunity. Of course, I was the only Black on my team, which is normal. Uh,
Right.
but we've been conditioned to deal with that, to just roll with it. So long story short, after working for Ernst & Young, I worked a few places for a number of years and came back to Howard University as an employee. And
Okay.
yes, very proud of that. And Howard
Yeah,
has,
me too. I'm an HBCU grad, North Carolina Central.
oh yeah, I think we could kick y'all's butt a few times.
Hey, hey, it's not that episode. Eagle
Yeah,
Pride.
yeah, I think our band did, actually. So so I came back to Howard as an employee, and they have this beautiful thing called tuition remission, where after you worked it for a year, you get steep discounts on tuition. So I re-enrolled and got my MBA there, double MBA in e-commerce and supply chain management,
Ooh.
which led me then to interview with IBM. And IBM, a very, very great company, and they gave me the opportunity to work overseas. So actually got to China through working with IBM. I was in a 2-year managerial training program. The first 3 rotations were in Poughkeepsie, New York. I'm not sure if you guys know about Poughkeepsie, New York, but going from Washington, D.C., which is majority Black, in Peachey County in Maryland, to
Mm-hmm.
Poughkeepsie, New York, is like going to a town that's 95% Italian. Um,
Oh.
yeah, so it was my first my first, after being what I call woke at Howard, it was very tough, very
Yeah.
tough, very tough. But Howard always also teaches you how to deal in those situations. So it was tough. It was boring, but I was able to work there. But luckily, my last rotation, I came here to China. That was January 1st of 2008, and I've been here since. And it's been an experience. So I say two things. I say IBM brought me here, but my father in my ear my whole life talking about, you are a citizen of the world. You need to travel the world, go abroad. That's what got me here.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
That's good.
Yeah. Shout out to Dad.
Yeah. Now, I think you mentioned some of the challenges, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the challenges in China, to be honest with you, compared to what I dealt with in the U.S., the challenges in China was chicken feed. At that time, now South China and North China are very different. South China, kind of similar to the U.S. I don't want to talk negative, but less education in the South. Meaning that Shenzhen, China, is a migrant city. So if they had, say, 10 million people, probably 9 million people travel from another city to work, because they're very big on manufacturing. Your cell phones, your TVs, all those things are built in Shenzhen. It means, though, that the people working in the factories are coming from very, very small towns, countryside. Really, really, really countryside. So they may not have even finished high school. Okay. So the education level is very, very low. And all they know about Black people is what they see on TV. And, everybody who's Chinese is Chinese. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Whereas in the U.S., if you can be American, you can be Black, you can be Asian, you can be Indian, you can be African, and you can be European, but you're still American. In China, everybody Chinese is Chinese. So with their mentality, they believe one people comes from one land. So what they see on TV says, okay, if you're white and you come from Europe, if you're white, you come from the United States. If you're Indian, you come from India. If you're Black, you come from Africa. That's it. Because in their country, it's all one race. So for the first few years, I had to get used to everybody assuming that I come from Africa, which is not a bad thing. But I'm not. I was born in Africa. I was born somewhere else. So I recall one time in Starbucks, one girl saying, "Where are you from?" I said, U.S. She goes, "No, you're Black. You came from U.S. And you're from Africa, non-Fay, which is South Africa."
Okay.
And so those sort of things happen a lot, but I don't call those things racist comments. That's more from ignorance.
Gotcha. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So I didn't really see a lot of racial issues here in China. They do exist. For example, if they want to hire teachers, and teaching is the #1 profession in China for foreigners, they always want white teachers first. They want white teachers to teach American English. They feel parents want to deal with whites because that's a better color. And again, that goes from what we see on TV and whatnot. Yeah. So those little challenges there. But I've never had any major issues being here in China. In the U.S. it's different. But
yes.
Here, and the police here, first of all, the police here typically don't carry guns.
Oh.
Which just de-escalates
everything. Right.
Yes.
You got to use those hands over there.
Yeah, and their main focus is to negotiate. Right? So if there's a car accident, right, or conflict in the street, when the police come, they don't want to arrest anybody. They're going to say, "How can we negotiate right here? If it's a small car accident, you pay the other person who they'll listen. That's okay. You're wrong. You pay him some money, and everything is resolved right there." So they're here to negotiate, not necessarily to arrest people. and it's so strange, so strange seeing that. But I'll tell you, yeah, I heard police sirens, and my butt doesn't clench up. Back in U.S., I had police sirens, and maybe for a second, like, just I clench up a little.
Exactly. Right.
But nothing here. So it's been very peaceful.
Ooh, that's a good word. We
Wow.
need peace in the U.S. That's a good word.
Yeah.
So you really slid right into the next question about your views on racial and social injustice since you moved abroad. So you really kind of hit on some things, and that really has showed us that there can be a different way. There is a different way to really handle and cooperate and negotiate with one another, and not, allow the race thing to really separate us or cause discord. So that was good. But is there something else, in your opinion, concerning the racial or social injustices that you want to speak on?
Well, in China, I think I was lucky because I came over here with IBM, and IBM is a very established, excellent company. So the people I interact with, they know that. And I carry myself a certain way. I try to carry myself. I try to be oblivious to some racial BS, so to speak.
Yeah.
I don't see that. We have some young folks here, early 20s, who come to teach English, and they have a harder time. Now, I think it's because they're a little, I don't want to say that millennials, they haven't had to deal with as much racial stuff as perhaps some older people have.
Correct.
In the US, and come from the US, having to deal with it. So then being over here, it's sort of like you know how to manage, you know how to navigate, you know how to, if you hear something, you don't react. Whereas 20 years ago, I may have reacted. So there are some racial undertones and things here. But again, if you know how to carry yourself, you'll be okay. And my circle is more professional. So the people who I interact with from China or from Europe or not, they have had opportunity to travel to the U.S. They've had opportunities to interact with more foreigners. So they're a little more open.
Yeah.
In the U.S., it's very, very different. I tell you, it's whenever I go back to the U.S., literally, when they say, ladies and gentlemen, we're making our landing, please buckle your seats and don't move, I start to almost hyperventilate because I know for a fact, once this plane lands, it's different. Because here, white Americans here treat you, Black Americans here, as part of the team. Because here we're foreigners, right? We're one group called foreigners.
Okay.
And there are some non-Blacks here who spend time with you, get to know you, that wouldn't do that in the U.S. Right, and because here, if you're in Shanghai, you may know 15, 20 foreigners from all different shades and colors, maybe from Europe and whatnot, but you really want to talk to your American friends. And here it doesn't matter if they're Black, purple, whatever. You want to talk to your American friends. You want to talk about football. You want to talk about this and that, right? But the same folks wouldn't necessarily interact back in the U.S. So you have to sort of get your mind ready. When I go back to the U.S., I know for a fact it's going to be, it's going to be a different situation. I've talked about my wife is Chinese. And I told her, look, if we ever get pulled over by the police, don't say a word. Okay.
Wow.
I told her, don't do this, don't do that. We have a young boy now, 10 months old. I told her, I said, look, this young man here, as he gets older, he's going to be viewed in the U.S. as a growing weapon. That's it. So I told him, be very, very careful, have a conversation. And I've had to sit down. So when we had the Ahmaud Arbery video, my wife I sat her down, and I told her to watch it.
Yeah.
And we talked about everything. And she's, because again, in China, they don't really understand what's taking place. They know that Black people are being treated a certain way, but they also know that the U.S. is a very violent country. So to them, it gets lost. They don't understand that it's really just toward Blacks. So I've had to educate her on some of the history. But I tell people, outside the U.S., the way the world looks at what African Americans are going through in the U.S. is the same way that Americans think about the Syrian war, the war in Syria.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, I'll read about it. Won't even finish the article. Next thing. They really don't.
Right. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
They really don't care. Yeah.
Wow.
That is wow. So your wife, when she saw the video, I mean, what was her emotion? Did she understand, like, your son, as you already stated, like, in America he will be viewed almost like a threat, but over there he's a peaceful citizen. Like, what was her thoughts? As you know, of course she's not Black, so what was her thoughts?
Well, I think it's impossible for her to understand.
Completely, yeah.
Because quite frankly, you have to have something happen to you to understand it.
That's
you
true.
have to grow up in that environment. Now, she'll talk about the Hong Kong protest and what's taking place in Hong Kong, and we have different views on that. I told her that the Hong Kong protest is very peaceful compared to some protests that we've seen, and to her, what's happening there is very sad. It is very sad what's happening in Hong Kong. So we try to use that to talk about different things. But it still doesn't really work.
Full circle, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I told her, I said, above and beyond anything, you have to understand your son. Okay, you have a black baby, you have a black son. Okay, and he's going to get treated a certain way in the United States.
Yes.
Hopefully he'll be treated okay, but he is going to be treated a certain way, and you must be ready for that. And so she gets kind of tired because anytime anything happens, I show her a video or an article. So when George Floyd came out, I woke up, I said, honey, I have a video. She goes, I already saw it. I know it happened. I know it happened. I feel bad about that. But what she wasn't ready for was, the Ahmaud Arbery video I watched, say, day one.
Yeah.
And I was fine. I was a little bit, can you believe this BS? But I was fine. When I watched the Floyd video, I was not fine. And I was not fine for a while. And that was the first time her seeing me really being upset for a number of days, and really just not even being able to explain it. So I think now she really, and with the protest taking place, she really understands that this is something that's different and something that's very, very important. So I think now she's starting to understand a little more.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to touch on that. Like, with it being so different over there, I can't even imagine being able not to clench up.
Right.
Because I've been adapted to that culture so long. Would you ever see a Ahmaud Arbery or a George Floyd case in China? Is that just unheard of, or?
It is. Well, I would say you'd never see them. You never see one getting shot because guns are illegal here. If you get caught with a gun here, depending upon the type of gun, that's jail forever or death penalty.
Wow.
So, yes. So, which is wonderful, right? So you won't see guns here. Now, in some cities, police do carry guns. If you have some really, but you go outside here, they don't have guns. In Hong Kong, they have guns. But typically, police don't have guns in China. So you wouldn't see that here, but you will see things more subtle. For example, in Guangzhou, which is in South China also, after COVID-19, and actually before COVID-19, so Guangzhou is the largest import-export area of China. So you have a lot of Africans who live there. And Africans have their little part of town also. And Chinese people treat Africans very, very badly in that part of the country. Reason being, you have, again, the only interaction most Chinese have with Africans is what they see on the news. And they paint a better picture of Africans. The news you get in the U.S., you get a better picture of Africans than the news you get here in China. In China, they're always showing Africans with the in poor parts of town, and
that narrative. Yeah.
If you, I'm not sure how old you guys are, but when I was coming up, they showed Africa. They had little boys with pot bellies with flies in their eyes.
Yep.
Right. So that's how they paint the picture of Africans here. So a lot of Chinese think Africans are poor, uneducated. So down there, we have a lot more issue. In the bigger cities, the main cities, Shenzhen, Beijing, Shanghai, Africans have been here for school, for university for years. Can speak Chinese fine. So they're treated differently here, but in the smaller cities, it's different. During COVID, when China was saying, we have no more internal cases, only import cases. If somebody from Africa got sick, then everybody had to be tested from Africa, and they said, okay, in the city, we're going to stop renting to Africans. So
okay, that's what that was, because I saw that news report. Okay, so that's really what the narrative was, because it was almost like they were trying to kick Black people out, like that. That was the narrative that the news was pushing that China was doing.
And that was I would say probably 110% accurate.
Oh,
what happened is, even if you had an African tenant and you heard somebody else from Africa got sick, well, you'll say, well, wow, all Africans are dirty. He'll probably get sick too. And then you would then kick him out too. He had a lease, 1 year lease, doesn't matter. Kicked him out.
Oh, man.
So it was very, very bad. You see signs, restaurants will say, no Africans allowed. Hotels will say no Africans allowed. So you had a lot of Africans in the streets. So there was a very bad treatment of Africans. Now, going into the major cities, I can speak for Shenzhen and Shanghai. I've never felt relaxed as I do being Black here, because it's sort of like, so down south, where people come from smaller cities, and people there for work, a lot of them have never seen a Black person face to face. So when they see you, it's like, and they'll come and touch you, and they'll take their cell phone and try to take a little picture of you on the slide. You know what I'm saying? And boyfriends will say, "Can you take a picture with my girlfriend?" And I'm like, "Are you serious?" Sure, So it's very, very different. It's almost like you're in a cage or a movie star. But it gets old.
I was just about to say that you're famous over there.
But to be honest with you, for the first couple of years, it was hard to take, because you're walking down the street and you'll see a young lady walking towards you. She'll turn to you, see, and she's scared, right? Because again, they've never seen it before. So it's very, very, and little babies say, "Hey Ran, hey Ran, hey Ran," which is black guy. So, but in the larger cities, they just call you Guelo, which is foreigner, which is better. But again,
I can hear that. It's better the other way.
I've never felt this level of freedom in my life, and that is freedom of not just from police, but when people look at me here, they may, if they think I'm African, they may think I'm broke. They may think I don't have any money, but they don't think I'm going to rob them. They don't think I'm going to take their money. They don't think I'm a thug. They're not crossing streets, right? They're not looking at me. They're not following me in the store. And I never realized how important that was until each time I go back to the U.S.
I'm telling you, I know it's a reminder every time, right?
Every single time, yeah.
So just as a side note, when you come back to the U.S., where are your parents now? Are they still in Kentucky, Louisville, or are they in?
Well, hopefully they're up there. both
okay.
Yeah, they passed. My dad passed in 2014.
Oh,
and
I'm sorry. Okay.
2003. So yeah, a few years ago. But my family, the vast majority of my family is in the Washington D.C. metro area, because we all went to Howard. I have one brother in Texas, and some family in New York.
Okay. Well, you got a nice variety, different places.
Yeah. Actually, we got family in the same state. So it's all three.
But the problem is, my family in Texas, they want to carry guns. And I'm like, man, because everybody's getting guns now. And I'm like, look, last thing we want is this to get aggressive or violent. And because if this gets violent, the black folk won't win, because especially white folk, Caucasians, they've been planning for this race war for years. Okay, they're ready. They are ready, right? So we're not.
That's real.
It's real.
Yes.
Yeah. So the one thing we have to do is understand that if you have a gun, understand what the gun regulation, the laws are in your house. Because if you have a gun elsewhere outside the house, you get in trouble. If somebody is doing a home invasion and they leave your house, you can't shoot them, right? They must be in your house. So understand what those rules are if you're going to have a gun in your house. Of course, make sure you have a gun lock, case safe that your kids can't get access to, which scares me. But I don't think guns are going to go. But yeah.
I think about that too, because my husband, he used to be in law enforcement. So he does have concealed carry. And so I always think about that too, because I'm like, cute. But
and just to even, with everything that's happening, and I had my reasons for getting out of law enforcement, some things I saw. I even now to this day, I look at ways in the event that something does happen, how can I protect myself legally? And there are things out there. But it's just that I as a black man in America, I have to take extra steps.
Yeah. Yes. That video. I don't even know what, but you have to have extra steps. I mean,
I'm telling you, it's like extra. Read all about it.
You gotta have a bullet hole in your arm or leg or something too, man. You gotta have,
it's real.
Yeah.
So, with your comment about just how everybody networks and collaborates, it leads us to our other question about when you're thinking about which country does an African-American man or a black man have a better advantage for advancement? In your opinion, is it U.S. for advancement, or in your country, do you feel like, what do you think?
First of all, that's a great question. And I'm going to assume you mean a career advancement.
Correct. Career. Mm-hmm.
I think you have to sort of kick in the door and be an entrepreneur, have your own company. I think that's really the only way you're going to be able to control your future. I can't speak much on Canada because I was young when I left, but I know that in China, most foreigners here work for foreign companies, maybe for an IBM or Facebook, the same companies that are in the U.S. In the U.S., there's definitely, I don't know if it's called a glass ceiling or a glass closet, but as you know, certain companies have a quota of how many people of color they're going to have in that.
There you go.
And if you have a black CEO, then that means that a lot of blacks will not be able to raise up, because they've shown we have a black leader, so we don't need to have blacks come up because we have them on top.
Mm-hmm.
Some who don't have that, they have to show they have diversity. So you may have opportunities to advance there.
Yeah.
I think for black men, I think it's extremely difficult in some companies to get legitimate advancements, because you're going up against two things. You're going up against white men and black women. And white men already have that network. They already have that path that's sort of set there. And white women, they check two boxes. They check that female box, right? Which allows them to show they have diversity as well.
Yeah.
I think it's extremely difficult. Now, of course, you can also get there by merit. But I think that the easiest thing is to form your own company and control your own destiny, because a lot of times when we're the only the only black person on a team or organization, there's more of a magnifying glass on us. And I'll give you an example. When I was working for Ernst & Young, back in 1997, 98. We had a blind survey. Blind surveys are the ones where don't put your name on it, right? We want feedback. We want feedback. So of course we have a box that says race. It said African American. Well, I'm Canadian, so I'm not African American. 2 weeks later, Colin, you didn't fill out your survey. I said, yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. They said, well, and how do they know that, right? Right? They should know that. So I learned very early, whenever you're the only one or two African Americans, and you're filling out surveys and getting feedback, be very, very careful. Be very, very careful.
That's a good point.
Yeah, be very, very careful.
Y'all caught that.
Yeah.
I've done those surveys, but I never thought about it that way.
Yeah. So be very, very careful if you're going to be critical about the organization. But I think it's important that you control your own destiny and you find ways to really advance, because I think everybody, it's not so much everybody's going to get passed over, but the relationships are different. And I'll give you one more example. Doing consulting, a lot of times you have opportunities or contracts outside of your home city. So you travel. So we had not a rule, but we had a thing, 3 days a week as a team, we'd always go out to eat together, and we'd all go to a bar or something, and each person would pick one. If I didn't go, right, let's say there's 6 of us. If I didn't go, and if one white person didn't go, so you have 5 white people, 1 black person, myself, every night, at least 1 white person didn't go. For whatever reason, they had to study, for whatever reason. I always went because I knew I had to. The first time I didn't go, next day, Colin, what's going on? You didn't come out last night. Yeah, I didn't feel like it. But Colin, hey, look, you got to be a team player. You got to be there. And I'm like, wait a second, man. If I don't go, they notice it, because where is that one black guy? You know, if the one black guy who's not there, as opposed to white who's not there. Again, that taught me something, right? So I learned a lot from that experience, and that's when I knew that at some point I had to go in my own direction. Just because it's hard work, but then dealing with the politics, right? The politics, that's what drives people batty, having to play that game in your job. Right. So I had to really, find something else that was more, I would say, even Steven.
Right. And that's what led you to start your own life coaching. So you want to talk about the life coaching, just how is it having, your clientele there in China?
Yeah, and I got to tell you, this is a great story, because life coaching wasn't my dream, but life coaching was the gateway to really being able to excel in my dream. So luckily, I was good in sports in high school, football and wrestling. And so for a lot of Caribbean families, when we think about going to college, we want to go to Howard University, because to us, Howard, we want to go somewhere black. My parents grew up in Jamaica, and Jamaica's black, right? Ooh. So they wanted us to get that black education. We won't go get that in Louisville. So my older siblings, myself, all my older siblings went to Howard. So when it was time for me to go to college, I went to Howard. But I was really in sports. I was really into sports and women, girls, in high school.
Right.
Right. No pun intended, right? But I didn't say I was into school, though. So when I graduated, my GPA was very, very low. So had it not been for a wrestling coach, being on a wrestling team and having a legacy there, I would not have gotten into Howard. My application had to be reviewed several times, and they let me in at the last minute. That's very important, because as a football captain and a wrestling captain, part of the responsibility was to motivate your team before a big game.
Yeah.
And football is pretty easy. Football, you got 11 on 11. Motivated the few guys who are already motivated. In wrestling, though, it's 1-on-1. So if you have a guy who got his butt kicked for the last 5 matches. How do you motivate him to give his all? Yeah. But I found a way to do it. And then a little small thing too. Have you guys heard of Steak and Shake restaurant?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a job at Steak and Shake my junior and senior summers. Okay. And I was a waiter. And I learned that the better you talk to people, the bigger your tip is. Yeah. Doesn't matter if the food is bad, but the better you talk to people, the bigger your tip is.
Good conversation.
Yeah. So I learned how to really talk to people, use what I say to sort of win their hearts and influence their minds, so to speak. So
I like that.
Yeah. When I first moved to the U.S., they put me in speech class because Jamaican parents, my accent was a little different. Canadian accent a little different. So they put me in speech class because I got so nervous in the U.S., I developed a stutter. So I had a stutter, I had a lisp. I still have my lisp. So for a couple of years, I was in that speech class. So people who could speak clearly, get up in front of a room, speak strong, speak clearly, always fascinated me. So I had a strong desire to be able to speak publicly excellently.
Yeah.
I always worked on that. So now going to college, I learned how to talk to people to get, to win their hearts. I learned a little bit how to motivate people, but I was really intrigued with motivating people because that allowed them to do something. Colin, I see this girl. I'm scared to go talk to her. Man, you better go talk to her before somebody else does, right? So motivating people and inspiring people became a lifelong, and public speaking, a lifelong dream of mine. And it never left me. So now we fast forward, from I graduated Howard in 1995, fast forward to 2006 when I started working for IBM. I never, we have dreams, we get busy in work, and our dreams sort of go to the wayside. But luckily, I never lost my passion to speak, my passion to motivate people, and people would come to me for motivation. Carl, I'm not feeling good today, yada yada yada. Help fire me up. Help inspire me. So that was something I really, really enjoyed doing because helping folks. Well, let me say this: coming from outside the U.S. to the U.S., we never had that slave mentality. What I mean by that is we never had that you can't do this, you can't do that, because that wasn't part of how we came up. It's big here in the U.S., so I've always been big on you can do anything. You really, really can. Now, maybe I was ignorant and maybe I was wrong, but that's what I felt. And then when Obama became president, I was like, you really can do anything you want. I never thought I'd see a black president in my life. Never. Right. So the only other thing I want to see an alien, right? I've seen a black president, aliens next, right? so I'm going to bring the story to your question. So for years and years, I've had the ability to motivate people. In 2015, I was asked by IBM to volunteer to do some internal coaching teams, coaching leaders. And I was like, what is coaching? And volunteer, you mean this and my job? But it's okay, let's try it. And it changed everything. Because I'll tell you, Brianna, I can guarantee you, you talk to me for an hour, I can motivate the hell out of you. I can motivate you to run through a brick wall on Monday. On Tuesday, I'm so good at motivating. On Tuesday, you will again try to find a brick wall to run through. By Friday, you ain't running. You're not running. By Friday, you're back to your old, right? So motivation doesn't last sometimes. Motivation doesn't last. So what I found with people who are trying to motivate, I was motivating them to feel good, but not to reach their goal. What coaching did, because coaching, as you know, is a partnership between two people, the coach and the client, where the coach's responsibility is to help the client discover ways to reach their goals and to stay with them throughout that journey. So wait a second. You're telling me I can fire you up, Brianna. I can fire you up. And now I can coach you until you reach your goal. That was a game changer because now I can do both pieces. Get you going and get you all the way through. So once I learned how to do that, and I saw how it changed people's lives, it was tremendous. So I changed my team within IBM and became a coach in IBM, coaching leaders and coaching teams. And it was beautiful. However, there was one conflict. So Q, if you said, if we're having a session and you said, Colin, I'm trying to do A, B, and C, accomplish A, B, and C. And I knew for a fact that, wow, that is great, but you can't do that in this company. It's kind of, because I'm paid by the company. I work for the company. So I must coach you to have the best outcome for the company, not for you. Because that's who I work for, and I must be loyal to who I work for. So that was a little conflict. So I battled with that. I knew that I was very good at motivating. I was getting better at coaching. So my job was moving from Shanghai to Beijing, and I was not going to make that move because they were two totally different cities, very different cities. And I had about a 6-month window when I was warned about that. So I remember calling my wife and telling my wife, honey, my job's going to move soon, and I don't think I'm going to apply for another job. I think I'm going to go for it. And she knew what going for it meant because this is she knows my passion. And her response really, really just solidified everything. She said, go for it. Right? Wow. And she knew that, man, we ain't getting no more paychecks for a long time, right? She still said, go for it. And I'm going to tell you, when you really want to change your career and make a change, having your spouse's support, it is so important. It is so critical. Because she could have said, how are we going to get paid? Right? Well, you can't do that because, we want to have kids, we got to pay these bills. But she said, go for it. And that just relieved one area of pressure. So I left IBM in March of 2018, 2018, and started my coaching practice. And it's been, I want to say it's been a wonderful road. It's been very interesting.
Interesting, right?
It's just like starting any business. And a lot of coaches forget something. A lot of coaches forget that this is a business also. So as good as you are at coaching, you must be just as good building a business. So It's been an interesting road, and COVID really allowed us to sort of pivot our coaching style and some of the things we do. But I'll come back to that later. I want to make sure I answer your question. So that's what got me into coaching.
Well, that's awesome.
It is. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
That's all I can say is wow.
That's great that you were able to use a platform where you were once a part of a company. They put you in a position to basically prepare you for your next level, which was entrepreneurship. I mean, that's really good how that worked out.
And just to hear I think so many times people often go through that glass ceiling, as you said. And I mean, I know even with my past history, every company I left, I went as far as I could go. And it was kind of where I had to choose my own values for the companies. So,
yeah.
It's interesting because two things. They say people don't leave companies, they leave management. When they know management doesn't support them, that's when they leave. And in the U.S., here's a little piece of information. What day, it's a question for you guys, what day do people have the most heart attacks?
Monday.
Yep. Because people are going to jobs that they hate. So going to work is literally killing people. People.
Yeah.
So it's important that you're working a job that you feel good about, you feel valued. And let me add one more thing. About two and a half years ago, when I was still with IBM, I was watching YouTube. And YouTube, there was this woman on TV, and she had some paper. All you saw was her hand and paper, and she was crinkle. Million views. Okay? getting paid for this, right? Another video, somebody just opening a box, right? Opening a box. And I said, wait a second, people getting paid for this? And it hit me. You can get paid for doing almost anything in the U.S. in the world.
Right.
You can shovel poo-poo, get paid. You can walk dogs, get paid. You can go outside on the street corner, sing, get paid. And I said, wait a second. If you can get paid to do almost anything, I'm going to get paid to do one thing. I'm going to get paid to do what I've always wanted to do, that's speak. I'm going to become my own product. And that's when things shifted also. I said, I am no longer going to put my hard work for another organization, selling software, selling this, selling that. I'm going to put my money and bet on myself. What comes out, I get paid by what comes out of my mouth. And I think it is so beautiful because one of the only things I can control in this world is what comes out of my mouth. So I think whenever you can find a career or your passion and find a way to get paid doing that, your life changes. Because, on my side, I like helping people, but it's not so much me just getting that pat on the back, which I do like. But when you're talking with somebody and you see that they get,
the aha moment.
Yeah, the aha moment. And when they succeed and they come back a year later and say, Colin, you know what? You really helped me do A, B, and C. I now become part of their success story. And I love it. Maybe it's ego, but I love it. I love being part of somebody's success story.
That's good.
Yeah, I love it. So being able to realizing that in this world, you can get paid to do almost anything. If you have a passion, go for it. Because odds are there's a way to get paid for it. Now, the road to get paid may be, but if you keep on it and keep trying and keep on and keep trying, you can reach it.
You will get paid eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have my own media company, so I understand that process as well. I'm a business coach, so I definitely understand walking with someone, getting them to that point, having to kind of backtrack at times, but they're going to get there. So, yeah, and me and my husband just became life coaches, so we haven't fully tapped into that yet, but we're still developing. So this is good to hear from one coach to another.
And my journey is a little bit more funny because I'm one of those kids that grew up real quick. By 7, I was already doing 20-year-old stuff already.
Paying bills, shopping, all of that.
So I have always had to, as a kid, it would kind of creep me out because people would always ask me my opinion, and I'm like,
I'm younger.
This doesn't make sense, but I give them the advice and they move on about their day. And I'm like, this just doesn't make sense. But, fast forward now, I see that a lot of it was just prep for now and walking into a new destiny.
Yeah. And that's how it happens. I call it organically, right? Some of the things that you're taught. And, when you want to think about what is my passion, what do I really like doing, call your friends from high school, right? Ask them if they remember you and what you were about, what you love doing. Because a lot of times we forget what our passion was, but that's where we start developing our passion. We get to college, man, and we grow up. It's kind of busy, but call some of your old friends and they'll tell you what you should do. They'll say, man, you've always been good at this. Or, and man, you were no good at this.
Yeah. People will remind you of your good and your bad days.
Exactly. And as you guys know, when you go into it, you have to have what I call an exceptional amount of belief in yourself, confidence. I call it the Kanye West confidence, right? Which is unreasonable, right? But you have to believe it. And only you have to believe it.
Right.
Doesn't mean everybody else thinks. Yeah.
You don't need no support with his type of confidence.
Right.
Yes. That's a great leeway and segue into our final question, which is, what are some words of encouragement that you would give to us here in America? Because, we are really experiencing a lot of, what's the word?
That's
turmoil. And the pot has finally boiled over, I guess. That's
yeah. Yeah. Well, let me answer. I want to just, if I can, just share a little bit about my coaching.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So my coaching, I specialize in 3 areas: career development, personal development, and what I call relocation coaching, which is like expat coaching. Because here you have a lot of people from other countries who come here and try to integrate themselves into the culture. And over the last 2 weeks, well, we also did COVID coaching, and COVID coaching was the outbreak took place here in China first. So
Right.
we didn't have any news to say, okay, here's what's coming down the pike. Everything was brand new. And my family and I were traveling in China, came back home because we didn't want to get caught outside the city. When we first got back here late in January, I called a few clients and said, look, I need us to put a pause for now, because right now my main focus is understanding what's happening to keep my family safe. They were fine with that. They agree with that. About 2-3 weeks later, I started getting a lot of phone calls from new clients, colleagues, ex-colleagues, friends saying, look, Colin, we've been on what's called homestay, lockdown for
Yeah.
2 weeks. I am about to take my spoon and shove it through my wife's chest. I'm about to throw my kids off the balcony. Help me, right? Because people are now doing something they've never done, which is staying inside all day. And I can't get any work done. So it was a great opportunity as a coach to help people to learn how to maintain the proper mindset and household during that time. So we called it COVID coaching. And so we're talking to people about how to maintain your relationships, how to have a strong mindset, how to respect people's personal space, how to interact with the children during this time, how to be productive when you have to work. And we framed this in terms of COVID, right? So in COVID times, how to do A, B, and C.
Yeah.
But really, this wasn't about COVID.
Mm-hmm.
If your relationship had cracks in it, all COVID did was put a magnifying glass on it. If you weren't as productive in your office, well, now you're home, it's going to be the same thing, just a little worse. So these weren't really COVID things, but COVID just amplified them.
Amplify. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's a good point.
So in early February, my family started asking me, "Hey, Colin, how are you doing? You're over there in China with COVID. Are you guys safe?" So I do emails every day. And I decided no more emails. Let me do some videos. So I did some videos, and in the videos I said, "We're safe," yada yada yada. The feedback I got was, "Okay, glad you're safe. How do I disinfect? How do I stay safe? All these questions. What did you guys do?" So I did a webinar, and from the webinar, you mentioned, Brianna, that you do production. These guys reached out to me from Silver Spring, Maryland, Buzz Media 365, and said, "Colin, you're doing some great stuff. Would you mind doing some public service announcements about this?" Now we're in March, and this is when in the U.S. things are starting to get. New York is blowing up right now. California is blowing up right now.
Right.
And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Look, I have no problem, because luckily, myself and some other coaches here had 2 things going for us. One, we just made it through the lockdown time here in China, meaning we know how to protect yourself. We know how to manage the amount of news we're taking in, and we're coaches. So we know how to help people get through."
Yeah.
So I told them, I said, "Look, let's do it. I want to do 30 episodes in 30 days. So we did it called COVID 30-30. So for 30 days, 30 episodes. So every day, new episode. And the videos are on Facebook and Facebook Live, on Facebook and YouTube, and on my website. That was very difficult.
I can imagine a video every day.
30 days. What that meant was I had to talk about it every day. Now, luckily, I had a coach with me for most episodes. We do sort of an interview. We had a relationship coach. We had a mindset coach. We had different coaches who specialized in different things. And that was a great opportunity, because we were giving tips and insights to people who are hungry for that news, right? Mm-hmm. And our information was vastly different from what's on TV. On TV, it's, okay, America, last night, 100 more people died, 1,000 more got infected. Stay tuned for new numbers. That's it.
Right, exactly.
Every day. Our videos were, here are some tips to create an environment where you can communicate with your kids. If your kids are always loud and they're quiet, find out what's wrong, right? Have conversations, right? So we covered a lot of different topics, and that was a great opportunity. But you guys are coaches, and to coach, it's one-on-one or group, but you have to be interacting. So these videos are more tips and insights, and we said, what can we do? What can we do as coaches to really, really, really help? So my thing from the beginning was the people who are, I apologize, I'll give you a long answer, right? From the very beginning, here in China, we had a lot of medical workers who got sick. They're on the front line. So due to that, they had to fly in medical workers from all over China to go to Wuhan. In the US, it was the same thing. Medical workers not having proper equipment, people who could not take time off, delivery people, grocery store workers. In a lot of cases, those are people of color who could not stop working. So in my mind, I'm like, look, how can we help people, but also want to help people of color? And knowing people of color don't go to counseling, even though we need some of the most counseling, don't go to counseling, don't ask for help. So we said, let's do another initiative. The first one was 30 for 30. Let's do a 40 for 40. So what I did was I recruited 40 life coaches globally who all volunteered at least 1 hour a week for 4 weeks, giving them 40 coaches, 40 hours a week, free coaching, free life coaching. Now, this is not the free session where I'm going to coach you, we're going to talk to you, coach you. In the last 10 minutes, I'm going to try to sell you a package. No, it's not that. It's not that. This is, we're coaching you, so that once the call is over, you have you've identified some methods and tools to help sort of balance your life, right? To make sure you have purpose during this time, to help you improve your relationships during this time. And we started that early May.
Oh, okay.
Got good feedback, and I want to talk about that because we extended that now to the end of June, and this is 100% free coaching, life coaching, and we have coaches all over the world. So if your audience is interested, which I hope they are, to get some free coaching, if you lost your job, if you're nervous, if you have anxiety, call a coach. We're not therapists, but we can help guide you on some tips on how to improve your life. If you're just stuck, call a coach. And this is 100% free. So the website, www.oligye.com. When you get there, you can navigate to the proper page. But again, go there and make an appointment. So I believe, going back to your question, it was what advice would I give in
just to encourage everyone? Yeah.
Right. If you think about the double whammy we have right now, the first one was the coronavirus, COVID. The second one is I get tired of saying racial issues. The second one is criminal justice BS taking place in the U.S. Can I say
that? that's just to say.
It's a double whammy. Mm-hmm. And both are affecting everybody. The coronavirus, COVID-19, is affecting most countries. And luckily, this with Greg Lloyd, George Floyd, excuse me, and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor, excuse me, is affecting everybody. They're protesting in Europe. They're protesting in Africa. They're protesting in South America. So these things are impacting people all over the world.
Yeah.
If you fast forward to 6 months from now, a year from now, and think back to today, what will you have accomplished? What will you have achieved? How has your life changed? People, during COVID, people are saying they wish they can go back to the old lifestyle. Well, let me tell you something. The old life wasn't that great in a lot of cases. We still had racism. We still had global warming. We still have people who are working jobs they don't like because they have to. We still have people who aren't living the life they want. You, right now, have an opportunity to guide your future. Why not make a promise to yourself to start to improve your life. Even if your life is great, improve it some more. Right. So when you look back at this time, you had purpose, right? You made a difference because for the COVID, learn online, learn something new, try something new. You have time to make sure that you are accomplishing something. For the racial side of it, what are you doing to improve things? You know, and I'll tell you one thing, because we have so many Caucasians involved now in a protest, when Black folk protest, we protest very good, very peacefully. Then we go back home and we get back into our old life. When white people protest, when they go back home, they contact a congressperson, right? They make change how they vote, where they spend their money. So hopefully now we can take some lessons, whether you're white or you're Black, and do things now to make things better. Yep. Don't wait for somebody to invite you to some group to do something. Individually do something. So my advice is to fast forward 6 months from now, and then say what I want to accomplish in 6 months, and then start doing it. Don't wait until the next Netflix series is over. Start right now, today, because one, on the coronavirus side, it's still there.
It is.
Keep your family safe, right? Keep your family safe. Work on a project together and get smarter. On the other side, with the racial stuff, again, keep your family safe, right? But now do things to be part of the solution. So that's my long-winded answer to that.
Okay. This has been such an awesome episode, Mr. Thompson. You are amazing. This is so cool, and we are just so impressed with what we have been motivated, educated.
I think the proper word is we feel a bit more empowered in culture and got some culture diversity now.
Yes,
you gave us a culture diversity training for sure. Much better than Starbucks.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we're still giving them money, right? We're still giving them.
I don't.
Yeah. So, and it's funny that we make that comment, and I've been noticing how, like you said, after this, will we really follow our dollar? Will we really follow law? To make efforts to change what has always been broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope we do. I hope it could be. I think this one is different. And I've been talking to a lot of Caucasians about their feelings and what they're going through. Because let me add real quick. I have also pivoted on some of my coaching because, as I mentioned, I do expat and relocation coaching, but I am now coaching white people in the U.S. on how they can make a difference, because a lot of them don't have anybody Black they can ask questions to. A lot of them said, you know what, I feel guilty because of the fact that I didn't do anything, because I ignored it. And how can they really make a change, and not just make a change overnight? How can they really try to change who they are?
Yes.
So part of my coaching now also is I call it cultural diversity coaching.
There you go.
What that is help. First of all, if you're going to go talk to your Black coworker, whom you guys are cool, we'll go to lunch together, maybe happy hour, but never the weekends, never each other's houses. Here's how you want to approach them, right? You don't want to just ask question. You want to start out by saying, I want to have a conversation because I want to achieve this. I want to make a difference. I want to learn what I can do to help. Don't just say, is it true that that you get nervous, or is it true that people follow you? Because
that's not helping us.
Just because you're getting woke now, right, doesn't mean that we should take time away from us trying to help our brothers and sisters and keep our mind focused to make you feel better, right?
Exactly.
So how they have a conversation is very, very important. And I think as Black people, we have to do that, because when white people want to help, their help does make differences. It really, really does. So we want to make sure, for the ones who want to help, let me teach you how to help. So as luckily, my coaching has sort of pivoted to help people do that as well, because there are some white people whom just want to come over and give you a hug and say, "Girl, I feel your pain. I feel your pain." Take a picture, put on Facebook. Woke, right? Now they're woke, right? So you want to make sure that the people who really want to help know how to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. So you guys that are listening, please be sure to take advantage of the free coaching. We're going to put that information in the description box. And Q, did you want to add anything?
I can just say, I look forward to hopefully taking some coaching myself. I always think that there's always room to improve. And, myself personally, I've been in furlough from both jobs. It's gave me, I'm grateful for it because it's given me a lot of time to think and actually be clear on some things. And so there's always room for improvement. Mm-hmm. So I plan on.
Yep, and we appreciate you waking up with us. We heard the birds, and we heard.
I'm usually up, so it's not too bad. Especially when I do these podcasts. The best time for me is the morning, so I'm usually up. Yeah, so it's fine. Yeah. So and I gotta say, I definitely enjoyed this. I told my wife last night. This will be my first interview with a couple, and finally it'll be a black couple too. So I really.
Yes. Well, tell her we said hello.
Yes.
And your little baby.
All right.
But thank you again, Mr. Thompson. And listen, everybody, this has been another episode of Resilient Love. See you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks so much for listening to Resilient Love Podcast. We wanted to take this opportunity to also let you know that you can help us by committing to a monthly fee of 99 cents, $2.99, or $9.99. Those contributions help us to keep this movement of resilient love going. Blessings to all listeners and subscribers. Thank you all.
Resilient love.